This video is intended for educational purposes only. The content discussed is based on personal experiences and is not an endorsement or encouragement for the use of any illegal substances. We do not condone or promote the use of illegal drugs. Always research and follow the laws and regulations of your country. If you are considering experimenting with any substance, please consult a medical professional or licensed therapist. Welcome to my channel. I am the Apak Pigeon. I was 18 years old when I embarked on my first psychedelic journey. It was a trip with a classmate and his family to the beautiful state of Espírito Santo in Brazil. With no steady jobs and only about $500 saved from my previous internship, my friend and I decided to be economical. While his parents and younger brother drove there by car, we opted for the train. It was cheaper, allowing us to save money for fun during the trip. The train ride, however, was a grueling 12-hour ordeal, much longer than the 5 or 6 hours it would have taken by car or bus. Flying was out of the question for obvious financial reasons. Despite the long journey, we were excited about the adventures ahead. Determined to make the most of our trip, we decided to indulge in some legal yet unconventional fun. I remembered hearing from some friends about a medicine called Benzydamine, which contained predominantly lidocaine. They mentioned it had some psychedelic effects, and since it was legal and didn't require a prescription, it seemed like the perfect choice. We went to a local drugstore, and as we approached the counter with the medicine, the guy behind the counter gave us a knowing look. He glanced at the package, then back at us, and said with a smirk, "You'll see a Oz for sure with this stuff." We bought 2 boxes of Benzydamine, each containing 21 pills, but instead of using them during our stay, we decided to save them for the train ride back home. The 2 weeks at the beach were incredible. We spent our days soaking up the sun, swimming in the ocean, and reconnecting with some friends from school who happened to be there too. It was a carefree time, filled with laughter and unforgettable moments. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. The day to return home finally arrived, and we found ourselves back at the train station, preparing for the long journey ahead. With a sense of anticipation, we gathered our supplies, a bottle of cachaca, and our boxes of Benzydamine pills. A few hours on the train were enough to make us want to trip, so each of us took a pill and a shot of cachaca. Half an hour later, we made the amateur mistake of thinking, "It's not working." So, we did what every smart kid does. We took another 20 pills each. We sat quietly, staring out the train window, watching the dried grass and the picturesque landscape pass by. The silence was comfortable, each of us lost in our thoughts. Then, something caught my eye. The grass seemed to start glowing. I didn't say anything at first, unsure if it was real or just my imagination. Suddenly, my friend broke the silence with a laugh. "It's catching fire." We both burst out laughing, the absurdity of the situation striking us both at once. As I looked up at the sky, the clouds began to captivate me. They weren't just clouds anymore. They had transformed into detailed sculptures. I saw a knight wielding a spear, not just a vague shape, but a precise and intricate figure made of clouds. Then Goku from Dragon Ball Z appeared, followed by Ryu from Street Fighter, and a series of other characters from my childhood. The last one was an enormous Ultraman, so vivid and lifelike. I was completely absorbed in the spectacle, enjoying the trip in my own world, when my friend spoke up again. "What about that Ultraman?" he said. His words jolted me, and I realized with amazement that we were both experiencing the same trip. The shared vision was both astonishing and exhilarating, deepening the connection between us in that surreal moment. Feeling overwhelmed by the shared vision and the intensity of the trip, I closed my eyes and surrendered to the experience. Instantly, my mind seemed to break free from the confines of my body. I felt myself rising, passing through the roof of the train, and then looking up at the vast expanse of the sky. I no longer had a physical form. I was the air itself, yet I could perceive everything with a clarity that felt like using my own eyes. In this liberated state, I noticed a golden cloud. It was enormous and breathtakingly beautiful, glowing with an ethereal light. I felt an immense sense of privilege just to witness such a magnificent sight. As I drew closer, I recalled the words of the drugstore clerk, and sure enough, I saw a UFO. But it wasn't the stereotypical flying saucer of popular imagination. It was a radiant orb, so bright that at first I mistook it for the sun. But then I realized the sun was in the opposite direction. The orb began to move, ascending rapidly into space. It left behind a trail of light, like a comet streaking across the sky. It repeated this motion several times, as if it was transporting something from the golden cloud into the vastness of space. The sight was mesmerizing, a dance of light and energy that defied conventional understanding. Driven by curiosity, I moved closer to the golden cloud. As I approached, I saw what I believe was the most astonishing part of the entire trip. Inside the golden cloud, I saw a man. He wore a beautiful blue robe that fit his tall, statuesque body perfectly. He had an aura of calm authority, reminiscent of a Persian figure but without a turban. His short beard framed a face of serene concentration. In his hand, he held a golden pen, which he used to write in a massive golden tome. The scene was surreal and majestic, as if I were witnessing a divine ritual. I felt an overwhelming sense of awe and reverence. It became clear to me that the orb was retrieving the information inscribed in the tome and transporting it somewhere else. The exchange seemed purposeful, like a cosmic transmission of knowledge or energy. As I tried to narrate my vision, I realized that words cannot truly capture the splendor of what I saw. The man appeared almost godlike in his presence, an embodiment of wisdom and power. It was as if I had glimpsed a secret aspect of the universe, one that transcended human understanding. I opened my eyes just as the train entered a tunnel. The sudden darkness added a layer of disorientation, and that's when I saw it, the most terrifying figure I've ever encountered. It walked past me, and I couldn't look away. It resembled a young boy, but with the distinctive features of a gray alien, except for the eyes. Instead of the usual large black eyes, this being had eyes that resembled those of many Asian people, but with more pronounced cheekbones. Our eyes locked, and I felt a chilling recognition. It wasn't just that I was seeing it, it was seeing me too. There was an unsettling awareness in its gaze, a connection that went beyond the physical. I was frozen, unable to move or look away, captivated by this bizarre and frightening figure. As the train emerged from the tunnel back into the daylight, the figure vanished, or at least I thought it did. The abrupt transition from darkness to light left me questioning whether it had been real or just a hallucination. The experience lingered, leaving me with a sense of awe and unease. The train then entered another dark tunnel, plunging us into temporary darkness. When we emerged, the landscape had changed dramatically. We were passing by numerous trees, but these were not ordinary trees. Their foliage had faces, each one contorted in expressions of pain and anguish. The sight was haunting, a stark contrast to the earlier beauty of the golden cloud and the divine figure. My friend was rapidly sobering up, and it seemed like reality was crashing back in. As the effects of the benflogen began to fade, we noticed a group of thugs at the other end of the train car. They looked agitated, possibly because of the attention the girls had given us earlier. Their movements were aggressive, and it became clear they were sizing us up, likely planning to rob us. A wave of anxiety washed over me, but my friend, now more clear-headed, told me to stay calm. They won't start anything if we don't, he reassured me. I trusted his judgment and did my best to appear relaxed and non-confrontational. The tension in the air was palpable, but we held our ground, hoping to avoid any trouble. The last odd part I can remember happened when the train suddenly stopped. It began raining, and something seemed to go wrong with the engine. From our angle, I could see the conductor stepping out to check the issue. To my astonishment, the conductor looked like a gnome, moving in an exaggerated, cartoonish manner. He walked out into the rain, fixed the engine, and then returned to the train. As the train started moving again, I found myself caught in a loop, repeatedly asking my friend what over and over until the trip ended. The strangeness of the experience lingered, casting a surreal shadow over the rest of our journey. When we finally arrived at the train station, we didn't speak about the bizarre things we had seen. We parted ways in silence, and our friendship was never quite the same. Years later, I ran into my friend again, but he didn't mention anything about that trip. After that brief encounter, I never saw him again.